Hello and welcome to Tricks of the Asterisk channel. Today is the 6th of July 2018. It's a couple of days after one of the pagan holidays in which the United States celebrates, which is actually called Independence Day. A lot of families would have gone out, thrown some fireworks, and ate some food, some barbecue, but they don't even know the real history of the country and the Independence Day that they were celebrating. Because the Vatican, which is responsible for the Independence Day today, has switched up the whole history of the United States such that people don't know the real history that this country was founded by pagan, black, woolly head European monarchs who were fleeing a Europe that was slowly changing because Genghis Khan and his generals and his hordes came in from Asia and started changing the ethnicity of Europe from black with woolly hair to albanic skin with straight hair. And those guys came over here and tried to build a new Vatican. So that's why, for example, such places as Washington, D.C. was named New Rome. And some other place that they wanted to bring about their own pagan worship of what they had left in Europe, which we're going to talk about today, which happens to be Hollywood. And they found out a place over here in California, which they called Hollywood. And so we're going to take a look at the real history of Hollywood today, because this is history that a lot of people are not aware of. Because when you hear the term Hollywood, you tend to think that the name looks kind of familiar. So we're going to break down what Hollywood means and the real history of Hollywood as well. And besides that, we're featuring two very important gentlemen in the black community because since this is about the real history of Hollywood, which was brought about by those pagan black woolly haired monarchs which discovered America, and we're trying to create a new world away from their old world, which had been taken away from them by Genghis Khan and his generals, which still exist till today. We have two very important people that we're going to be looking at today. The first person goes by the name of Rick James. Here is Rick James right here. It says here Rick James, born James Ambrose Johnson Jr. From February 1st, 1948 to August 6, 2004, was an American singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and producer. Now, there's a very nice artist I used to listen to. I still listen to the artist sometimes. And the artist's name is Keisha Cole. I used to love a lot of music from Keisha Cole. And Keisha Cole made a song about Rick James. It wasn't a song about Rick James, but it was a song called Rick James. And I never could understand because Rick James, as has been made to us to believe, was male. And Keisha Cole on the song was saying that she was Rick James. So I was like, that's weird. That's before, all of this started getting into focus about what's really going on with our world. And I never, paid much attention to it until maybe a couple of days ago. And I want to thank a very special subscriber of ours for bringing this to attention as well. Amy, I want to thank you again. So now that I go back to to my memories, and I remember the song called Rick James, and let me just show you the song, some of the lyrics of the song right here. So here's one of the lyrics from the song called Rick James by Keisha Cole. Here's just, you're looking at the hook right here. It says Rick James, Keisha Cole, as you can see right here. It's featuring Juicy J. It says right here, let's see, my mouse and my internet is a little bit slow, so pardon me. Where is it? Okay, right there. The song actually says here, the hook to the song says, why does it matter now? Who can do you better? Feet up on your couch, yeah. Girl, I'm Rick James. Yeah, girl, I'm Rick James. Yeah, girl, I'm Rick James. So I used to wonder, why did she have to say that she was Rick James? Because Rick James was male. And I was thinking, is Keisha Cole trying to say that she's a man too? My mind was, thinking about it, but I didn't really have the time to look into that because I looked up Keisha Cole and I knew that she was a woman, a bona fide female. So most of the songs that most of the influences that we have in Hollywood they all have some sort of, some sort of deity involved in it. And the deities is always going to be something that's evil and sinister, because Hollywood is a worship of a certain particular type of deity, which we're going to look into today, because today we're focusing on the real history of Hollywood. So a lot of the songs that I used to like about Keisha Cole, when I take a look at the lyrics, I'm getting to find out that they were not all, the friendly songs that I really thought about. So, for example, here is one song that I used to love so much about Keisha Cole. The song's called "Long Way Down." Long Way Down, Keisha Cole. You can see right, he says "Long Way Down, Keisha Cole." Now, when I take a look at this lyrics, I'm getting to find out that Keisha Cole wasn't just singing about, maybe having a lover of a person that she loves being a long way away from her. She was actually talking about some sort of date, because if you read the lyrics of the song, you can pause the video at any point in time, copy out the link, or just go type in your search Keisha Cole Long Way Down and see the lyrics of the song. It says here, because the song starts out by looking like it's talking about someone who's brokenhearted and fallen in love. But as the lyrics keep on changing, you still, or you get to find out it's really not talking about that. So, for example, here it says, "Don't show me how you kiss or where the angels live." Wow. So why would you, where the song just changed from being a regular song about someone maybe having a broken heart over a lover or something, into saying, "Don't show me how you kiss or where the angels live"? Only the devil would know where the angels live, because Keisha Cole here is not talking about Yehoshua or God in any way. So the only other thing we can think about is that she's talking about the devil right here. And she says, she goes on to say, "It's a long way down from there." Wow. Just to call it quits, cause that ain't what love is. It's a long way down from there, baby. It's a long, 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 long way down, falling from heaven. So now when I look at the lyrics, I'm like, wow. So Keisha Cole wasn't really talking about what I thought she was and making these great love songs. She's talking about something entirely different. So a lot of the the music and the movies that we watch, that we actually think is talking about maybe people falling in love or things that we can relate to, when you pay closer attention to the details, because somebody always says that the devil is in the details. You've heard that so much often. When you start paying attention to the details of your surroundings, that's when you start noticing that there is a devil, that Satan is actually real, because the Vatican controls the whole form of entertainment that we have from start to finish. There is nothing that the Vatican is not involved with, especially the albino Vatican, the great grandsons of Genghis Khan, which happen to run the Vatican today. So we're going to be taking a look at Rick James, and there's another person that we're going to be taking a look at also, who is very, very popular in the hip hop industry, hip hop entertainment world. And let me point you to that person also. So another person that we're going to be taking a look at today is Master P. If you are trained in the educational system of this world, and you believe that all the schools that you've gone to, the degrees that you've gotten, are actually real knowledge, you have fallen for a whole bunch of nonsense. And I pity those people who spend so much of their time going to schools trying to get their master's degrees and PhD, and actually think that it's real knowledge. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to your school, but you shouldn't think, because the way it works is that in the way we live today, because we've relegated the fact, and we don't plant our own crops or grow our own animals. The only way to survive in the system is to get into the money system, and the money system is fully controlled by the Vatican. And since we need the money, we have to go to the schools and get the paper that's going to get us the money, because we don't have no lands, and we don't plant no crops, and we don't grow any of our animals. So that's just the way it is. So I'm not saying you should not get your degrees, because you don't have any farm, and you're not planting any of your crops. So how are you going to survive? Which would be the very first thing that you should put your money aside into doing. If you do have some money, go get some land, plant your crops, and grow your own animals, and learn how to live away from the system that we are currently living in right now. But if you're basing your whole experience and the knowledge that you're getting in the indoctrination centers of schools, you're falling for a very, very bad thing. That's the best way I could put it. Because if you look at the word academy, all right, the word which in which we are trying to, groom ourselves in the educational system of the Vatican, which is called the academic system. If you look at the true definition of the word academics, you find out that academic has nothing to do with educating you. And let me just show you that first before we continue on. So here is a definition of academic or academics, which a lot of people go to school for and make their whole lives to feel like that they are very, very important and good in what they do. You could pause the video at any point in time, and this is from Merriam-Webster. Pause the video, copy out this link, and go read up on yourself and look at the true definition of academics. Because when you look at the definition of academics, you're going to find out that you've been sold a lie, because academic has nothing to do with practicality. So let's read what it means. It says definition of academic, of relating to or associated with an academy or school, especially of higher learning, the academic curriculum, academic courses of or relating to performance in courses of study, academic excellence, academic achievements, very learned but inexperienced in practical matters, academic thinkers. Can you believe that? So academics means that all those great books that you're reading and all the so-called histories that you're being taught in schools says that you're learned, but you're inexperienced in practical matters. Academic thinkers. It says based on formal study, especially at an institution of higher learning, academic qualifications, or for relating to literally or artistic rather than technical or professional studies, a region that has both academic and vocational high schools. A purely academic question having no practical or useful significance. So we spend all our times going to schools thinking that we are being taught something of practicality, but at the end of the day, it's just a waste of your time, an indoctrination of your mind into being a subservient slave to the system of albino supremacy, as we call it today. So that's just the way it works. Academics has nothing to do, or educational system has nothing to do with teaching you anything valid or valuable at all. Because if, for example, we as a people were academically qualified in the real sense, there's so many things that we should know off the bat that doesn't sound right. So for example, I started a series, or we started a series a couple of weeks ago, in which we talked about the fact that the heart doesn't pump blood, but rather that the blood is a living organism on its own, and all the heart just does is to provide electricity or reverse the charge inside your blood, so that your blood flows in an opposite direction from the way it normally does, because the blood needs to go backwards and forwards at every single time in your body. So all what the heart is doing is just reversing the charge or the polarity, so that the blood can go back and forth in opposite directions instead of flowing in just one direction. If we as a people were in the grade schools that we go to, I think those are one of the few most basic things that we should be taught about. But a lot of people don't even know how the heart really works. So that's just how foolish we've been made to be. And speaking of the heart also, because a lot of people get to a hospital and they tell them that you're having hypertension and high blood pressure, which we've talked about doesn't quite exist. And some people may have the questions, okay, so what causes people to have high blood pressure or hypertension or something wrong that makes them fatigued and weak? Now, I had answered that question on the video about the heart, the blood. and the Train Broadcasting Network, which is a video on this particular channel which you can look into. But I'm also going to answer it specifically now so people can have a clear understanding of what's going on with their bodies that makes them believe that they have some sort of high blood pressure or hypertension. So you have to understand that when you're born into this world as a young man or young woman, okay, when you're young, your heart, or let's say, for example, because I've made you to understand already that the heart carries, that the blood carries electrolytes, okay? So the electrolytes are salts. When you're younger, all right, you do not need too much electrolytes in your body for the heart to produce that electrical charge that reverses the blood flow in your body back and forth. So when you're young, it's just like having a new battery, all right? A new battery doesn't require a lot of work because it's new, okay? When the battery gets older, it's going to be working more. So when the battery gets older and it's working more, the electrolytes need to be readily available for it to produce the electrical charge that it needs. The same thing that happens with your blood. So as you get older, let's say, for example, when you were much younger, let's say the amount of salts in your blood was equal to 1 tablespoon, all right? And at that point in time, maybe you're wearing, let's say the weight, your body weight is let's say maybe 50 pounds or maybe 100 pounds when you're young. Now when you get older, what usually happens is that you're gonna gain some weight. So nobody's gonna remain at 100 pounds throughout their whole entire life as they get older. So maybe from 100 pounds you got up to 150 pounds, and you're still using 1 tablespoon of salt that you were using when you were 100 pounds. Obviously you're gonna know that you got larger. That means you're supposed to have much more salt to be equivalent, all right, to the body weight that you're carrying now as you get older. So you find out that as we get older, we are told that we should reduce our salt intake, okay? So first of all, we've gotten older, we've gotten bigger, we're weighing more, and you're still surviving on less salt intake than you were when you were much younger. Obviously you're going to have to run into problems, because now if you have the understanding that your blood needs electrolytes, and the electrolytes are used by the heart to produce an electrical charge to reverse your blood flow in a different direction so the blood can feed all the nutrients that you need into your body, and now you're working on less salts, not even the same quantity that you were using when you were much younger, but even far less salts, because that's what the doctor told you to do. Now you are at a more and greater risk of a heart failure. So that is what is happening. So as you get older, you need to upgrade your salt intake a little bit more to account for the fact that you weigh more now today and that you're older. So the salts need to be readily available for your blood and for your heart to produce that electrical charge, so you don't have any problems of having a cardiac arrest and hypertension and all the so-called fake diseases of like high blood pressure and the rest. So that's the story right there. So if we were in school, like I told you before, in real schools of education or academics, as we've shown you right here, we should know that off the bat, but we don't. So that shows you that we're living in a very false age. So like so those two people, getting back to what I was saying, those are the two people we're going to be featuring today on a video, and we're going to be talking about the real history of Hollywood as well. So let's start and lay some basic foundations, and we can get into that so we can get on with this video. Because this video may be a long video, so if you can't sit through a long video, we'd advise that you pause the video right here and just quit. And if you're wondering about the way my voice sounds right now, I have a cold, and I have to admit that this is the first time in history that I'm having a cold in the summer. It's never happened before, and right now it's about 110 degrees, but I have a cold. And I have some few other people around which I've known, especially like people who are working with me on the team, who also have a cold. And it's crazy because it's never before happened in history that in the United States of America that you can have a cold in 110-degree heat during the summer. So that means the Vatican has found some way to make a flu or that's resistant to heat. And so now that means people are going to be getting much more sicker during the summer and also sick during the winter period. So we're no longer safe because that's what the Vatican is interested in doing, in making all of us weak, in making none of all of us to be weak and fearful so that we can be controlled. So for people out there, you have to know that that's just what's happening. So that's why my voice sounds this way. I have a bit of a cold and my voice sounds funny. So besides that, let's get into what we have to talk about and get started so we can end this video, because it looks like it's going to be a long video, because right now it's been running for 21 minutes already and we haven't even touched the meat and the bones yet. So let's go. So if there are any first timers on the channel, we would advise that you pause this video right here and go look for the primer video. Even though we expect that anybody who's on Tricks of the S Trade 2, which is the channel that you're watching right now, in which this video is being shown, should have been on Tricks of the S Trade as well, because a lot of our old videos are over there. And this videos on Tricks of the S Trade 2 have a very special focus because, like we've always told people, the idea is to get people who are interested in the whole truth, people who are not just merely fixated on transgenders, and we want people to get the whole truth. That's why we put all this information in our book, because a lot of things that we're saying on these videos, we can't really talk about them as much as we would love to, and these videos only cover, like, let's say 5% of the whole entire truth. If you ask anybody who has gotten the book, they will tell you that there is so much history that you are not aware of. So if you're on this channel, we expect you to get the book, because that's the only way we can be able to give you all the information that you need. And to get a book, we leave our contact information is on the screen, and you can contact us through email or text to get the price of the book. So besides that, if it's your first time on the channel, we still recommend that you should get the book, because otherwise you're merely just wasting time, because these videos don't do justice, because there are so many things we cannot say on these videos, because the Vatican is hard at work trying to shut us down. And like I've said before, our website is going to take a while for it to come up, because we want to put things in the right perspective. It's going to be something that has never existed before. And also, I think we're gonna show you, we're gonna create just like a mini website for a certain purpose that we think we might need it for, and we'll let you guys know. The certain videos that we want to make, but the videos are very, very sensitive. It's not something that we want to let the whole world know what it's all about. So we're gonna put up, I think we're gonna create that video and put it up on one of our websites, and it will be available for everybody who has the book, because all that information is in the book. All the information that we're gonna be talking about on that video is in the book, and those who get the book will get that information. But for those who are merely fixated on one thing or the other, they're going to be charged to get to that video. It's gonna be free for everybody who has the book, because they already have the information in the book as well. So for first time subscribers, please get on the channel, pause this video right here and watch the primer video first. The primer video is the most important video that you have to watch on this channel. It's just simply called primer. There's a playlist for it, and there are about 3 other videos, or 3 other videos rather, besides the primer. And this video that we're going to talk about today is also going to be on the primer video. We're going to add it to the primer video list, because it's very, very important that you get the meat and the bones of this particular video. It's very, very important that this particular video that you're going to be watching, that you're watching right now, is going to be on the primer playlist as well. It's a very important video, sorry to say, because we're talking about the part of the issues of as we're going to be showing you about the theory of surrogates. We're going to have a confirmation of that on this particular video. And we're also talking about the blood the heart and the blood as well. So I think we're going to add this to the playlist also on the blood, or the heart, the blood, and the Train Broadcasting Network, because the blood is the most important thing aspect in our lives, because we've been trained all through history that the heart pumps blood, but the heart does not pump blood. It just produces electricity for the blood so it can reverse the flow in the body. And it's very, very important that you should get to know that, because if you think about it with common sense and logic, you should know that everything that we take in and we eat, the drugs, all go directly into our blood. So for example, the best way I can put it is this: if you drink some sort of like stimulant, let's say like caffeine or coffee, the caffeine goes into your blood, all right? Because before you take the caffeine, your heart is still working. It's still beating the number of maybe beats it's supposed to beat per minute to produce the electricity that you need. But when you take in caffeine, the caffeine goes into the blood, and the heart works a little bit more to produce much more electricity. So that shows you that everything that you take into your body goes into your blood. So for people who use recreational drugs, we're not promoting any sort of recreational drugs on this channel. We're just giving you an example. So when people take recreational drugs, let's say you hear people say they're shooting up some sort of heroin into their blood system, that goes into the blood. So every form of drug that you take goes into your blood supply first before it gets to your heart. Does it make sense? So the blood is the life of the body and not the heart. So a lot of people need to understand that as well. So that's why this particular video that you're making is very, very important. And we're going to put it on the primer playlist as well. But for the first time subscribers, please get on the channel, look for the video called Primer, watch that first, pause this video and watch that primer video first, and watch the primer to the Theory of Surrogates and Theory of Surrogates 2, and then you can come back and continue watching this video. And for every video that we make, there is a link in the description section. I'm hovering my mouse right over it right here. When you click on this link, it's going to take you to a document. The document is going to be called Male versus Female Visual Differences. We advise that you download this document. It's very, very important for you, and study it on your own and save it even for future generations, because as we keep on going in this world, much of our history is going to get corrupted and corrupted. So if you can have anything in hard copy format, it's always best that you do that. That's why we put all the information into a hard copy format in our book, so that someone in the future can always have access to it and know that somebody did write these kind of things down. So that's why it's very important that you should get a book. It's not just a book like we make the ad to show you. It's not just a book. It's a concealed mystery that you need to know, so that you're no longer a spectator or a fan in the field of world events. So you become a player as well. You know what's going on around you. So with that said, please download this document if you're new to the channel, and keep it printed out and save it in a hard copy format. So let's get into this document, since we're also neck deep in the middle of transvestigation. I'm sorry if I may sound all over the place at this point in time. It's because, like I've told you before, I have a cold right now, which has never happened before in the summer and 110-degree heat. So taking a look at this image right now. Here's an image of a female to the left of a screen. This female has an arch on the back. A woman has an arch on the back because her pelvis is tilted forward. The pelvis is tilted forward so that a baby can stay inside the womb for the 9 months of conception that a baby has to go through. If you draw the arch from below the shoulder blades of a female, it's going to form a deep C arch in the back. If you draw it from high above the shoulder blades, it's going to form an S-shaped arch in the back. So you always have to remember those two letters when you're trying to look at the gender of someone, trying to identify the gender. That a woman's back is always going to be shaped like a C or an S because of her pelvic tilt. Here is a man, and as you can see right here, this man's back doesn't have any pelvic tilt. It's straight up and down, because males do not get pregnant. A man will never get pregnant. The shape of a man's back is going to be shaped like a P or a D, because a man's back is straight and does not arch. If it does arch, it's going to arch outwards into the shape of a D or a P. It's not going to arch like inwards like that of a female right here. It's going to arch outwards for a man. So the shape of a man's back is shaped like a D or a P and is straight. And on our channel is a different kind of channel, or we do not entertain any form of slandering on our channel, because we only identify the gender based on the skeleton, which is how gender has always been identified right from time. Because through dead remains of human beings, the only way to identify the gender is the skeleton, because nothing can change the skeletal structure of anybody once it's been determined at conception. So that's why, if you notice that when through forensic evidence of trying to identify maybe someone who was murdered or killed, they always look at the skeleton, and the skeleton identifies the gender. So, but we are not taught that in the schools or academic systems. Like we have told you before, that it's all false because it has no practicality, as we showed you earlier. So a lot of people do not know that. So if you're trying to base someone's gender based on the genitals and the way they dress and the appearance, you're looking at the wrong things, because what you're looking at is the secondary features. Secondary features can always be changed. So that's why, for example, in a school educational system, the most important part of education is the primary school, because the secondary is not really relevant, and the secondary is based on the primary. So if you get the primary wrong, then that means the secondary is going to be wrong. So in this example, the primary is the skeletal structure. If you get the skeletal structure, then your analysis of someone's gender based on the secondary features that you see is going to come out wrong, because the secondary features can be changed through such things as surgery. For example, someone's face. Okay, someone's face can be molded in such a way that it looks feminine when it's male through plastic surgery. And you also have to understand that the Vatican poisons of food, water supply. So a lot of people come out having unisex secondary features. So for example, you find out that a female speaks with a very dark masculine voice, as I am speaking right now. Some females will grow facial hair, and some females will grow an Adam's apple like a man, but the underlying skeletal structure has not changed because she's still female. And the same with males. You find out some males today, because of all the hormonal intake and all the drugs that we've been fed to make us weak so that the body can control us, can change a man in such a way that men do not grow facial hair, a man will not have an Adam's apple, and a man will speak with a very feminine voice and even look feminine, but the skeletal structure has not changed. It still remains male. So that's why in your analysis you always have to focus on the skeletal structure and not the secondary male or female characteristics. So on our channel, that's what we do. So if you come up here and you start talking about the secondary features, such as a slanting forehead, a sloping forehead, a strong jawline, a long ring or index fingers, which is actually false, and Adonis belts, Adam's apples, facial hair, as the reason someone is the gender they claim, then we're going to block you on this channel for slandering and spreading false rumors and helping the Vatican to confuse people more and more, and even the younger generation that's going to be coming up in the next couple of years, because that's what we're focusing on here. We're trying to make people to come to the reality that we've been fooled for a very long time, and there's an organized system that's taking young children, of which we all were once, and taking these babies, castrating them or mutilating them, as the case may be, feeding them hormones and using them to making them to live in a gender that's different from the gender that we're born with, so that they can be used as products. That means as agents of mind controlling the population to actually believe in the new world order system as if it's something that we wanted, when it's not our own doing. We're just being bamboozled into it and made to believe that the new world order is something we want, when it's not. It's something that's imposed upon us. So that's just that. So let's scroll further into the document just to show you those. Continue talking about the differences between the male and the female skeletal structure, because the most important difference between males and females is that a woman is designed to give birth. A skeletal structure is designed to give birth, and that of a male is not. So if you miss that, then you miss the whole difference between a man and a woman. So scrolling forward into document, you can see right here that here's a female kneeling down. I'm sorry that my screen is not coming up right. So here's a female kneeling down. You can see she has a deep C arch in the back and the pelvis is tilted forward. Scrolling further into document just to show you that it doesn't matter the size of a female. There's always going to be an arch in a female's back, irrespective of the color of her skin, her ethnicity, and texture of hair. There's always going to be an arch in a woman's back. So as you can see right here, there's a big female to the left of her screen. She has an arch in her back and the pelvis is tilted forward. Every woman's pelvis is tilted forward, regardless of what you see, all right? Irrespective of her color, ethnicity, texture, how big she is or how small it is, because without the pelvic tilt, you cannot be a woman. How are you going to give birth? You can't have a straight pelvis like a man. So some females have a very subtle pelvic arch and some have a very pronounced one, but regardless, all females have a pelvic tilt. So there's another female here, a small female, and you can see she still has a pelvic tilt and an arch in her back. Muscular female right here, as you can tell, arch in the back, nothing, because nothing can change the skeletal structure, right? So when you hear such people say transgenders is in all reality not really true, because there's no such thing as a transgender. You can't change genders and you can't change sexes. We just use the word because it's been imposed upon us by the Vatican that there is such a thing as transgenders. What you have are mutilated males and females because you can't change the skeletal structure which determines the sex. Or what you're doing as a woman is maybe taking some form of drugs, all right, that's going to give you some muscles and it's going to make your skin thicker. But you can't change the skeletal structure because, for example, your hips are still always going to be below the crotch because that's how you're born, and you can't change that pelvic tilt regardless of what you do. So muscular female here, arch in the back, another muscular female here, arch in the back, and nothing can change the skeletal structure. So let's go play a video clip to show you one of the most important defining features between male and females, which lies in the hips, because the hips of a female are designed to give birth and they are below the crotch, not above it like a man. So let's go do that. So here is a clip right here, and this clip is going to show you how a female's hips are measured. It's going to show you that the location of the female hip is going to be below the crotch, and I play the clip right here, and as you can see, this is a regular female in the sense that naturally a female's hips are supposed to be the widest portion in her body, and that location of the female hip is supposed to be below the crotch. And also natural in the sense that as a woman, all right, if you put your arms around yourself, around your elbows, you start noticing that from underneath your elbows you start getting wider, because the pelvis needs to be wide enough for a baby to stay inside the womb for the 9 months of conception that a baby has to go through before he or she is born into this world. And then also you always have to remember that the location of the female hip is below the crotch, and there's no such thing as a shoulder to hip ratio. You probably hear that a lot, in which a lot of people will confuse you and tell you that depending on how wide a woman's shoulders is, that can determine that she was born male. There's no such thing. Your shoulders, if you're a female, can be wider than your hips. That does not make you male. It's the location of your hips that determines if you're female. All right, not the how wide your shoulders are. So the location of all female hips is below the crotch because the hips need to be out of the way for childbirth. All right, that's why it's below the crotch, unlike males in which their hips are above the crotch, so that the male genitalia can function below body temperature so that it can be optimal in its production of seed. Okay, so as you can see right here, this female is going to be measured for you to see where the location of her hips are, or where her hips are rather. And as you can see, the tape goes around there and it's below the crotch, not above it. All right, now the reason why females are shaped in an hourglass figure is because Number one, the hips are wider. And why are the hips of a woman wider? Number one, the hips are wider because the pubic arch or the pelvis is wider. What makes the pelvis of a female wider is because she has a wide pubic arch. The wide pubic arch is there so that a baby can come outside of this womb comfortably. So because of that wide pubic arch and space in the pelvic region, everything in the pelvis of a female is farther apart, and that's why the hips of a female are farther apart in the body and below the crotch. So the hourglass figure is caused by the wider hips and the fact that the hips are below the crotch, and the Q angle meaning the angle that the hip connects to the knee, is also going to be very, very acute because the hips are farther apart because of the wider pubic arch that a female has, necessary for childbirth. So males do not have an acute Q angle like this for their Q angles. They don't have an acute Q angle because the connection, men have a narrow pubic arch, so the hips are not going to be farther apart in the body, and the Q angle is not going to be as acute as that of a female. All right, so this lady is going to turn around from the back so you can see where the location of that hip is in the back. As you can see right there, the location of the female hip is slightly above the bum line but below the crotch. So the hip location is right here, slightly above this bum line but below the crotch. Now if this woman, all right, was a man, the location of this Q angle, as you're seeing here, which is slightly above the bum line, would be farther away from this bum line all the way up in here. That's how you can tell that you're looking at either a male or female, because when you see someone from the back, male or female, you're going to recognize that's a woman and that's a man because how acute the Q angle is. So if you're trying to determine the gender of someone and you have difficulty looking at the person from the front, try to see if you can find a picture of the person from the back, because once you see someone's picture from the back, you're going to know exactly that this is either male or female. All right, so I'm going to show you an example of how to do that with a picture of Iggy Azalea. Let me bring that picture up. So here is a picture of Iggy Azalea right here, and Iggy Azalea is here with a bona fide female in Jennifer Lopez. Now we already showed you in this particular video here that for every female, all right, the location of the hip is going to be slightly above this bum line or where a Q angle starts, and not so farther away, because that's only representative of a male's Q angle, in which the Q angle of a male will be farther away from this bum line. So in Iggy Azalea's case right here, you can notice this is Iggy Azalea's bum line, but her Q angle is so far away from the bum line. Why? Because Iggy Azalea is 100% male, a mutilated male who's been masquerading around as a female, and a lot of males are having daydreams about this man because the Vatican wants you to stay confused. And like we've always told a lot of people, all the information, all the lies that the Vatican brings to our world, and all the money that's spent, which is uncountable at this point in time, it's not just so that they can rule us or make us do what they want and control us. Is because they're doing all this because the most important aspect of a human being's life is his or her soul, and the soul either is going to belong to God or the soul is either going to belong to the devil. So all this is trying to make you choose a side, because people don't understand that the world we're living in is created. We did not come through apes, and there's no such thing as a Big Bang, because all evidence does show that an intelligent life created us all, and that intelligent life wants you to love him. So if you don't love him, you're going to be loving someone else, and that's the devil. And that's why we have this myriad of deception and lies going on in our world. So with that said, I hope you guys found that interesting to know exactly how a female gets measured into clothes because we've known for such a long time that clothes of every woman are sewn in many different countries and brought into many different countries, and they all fit every female regardless of her weight, height, ethnicity, texture of hair. Is because all through history they've always known that the location of the female hip is below the crotch, and clothes are sewn accordingly, because without that, most of these clothes that a lot of women go to buy would not fit if females had varying degrees or varying places in their body for their hips. The female hip is always going to be below the crotch no matter what. So if you're a woman, if you and you found out that your hips are above your crotch, that means you weren't born female. You were born male, and someone mutilated you and made you think that you're actually a woman when you're not. So remember that. So with that, let's get into start the history lesson on the real history of Hollywood, and then we can continue into the transvestigation of Miss Rick James and Miss Percy, who happens to be called Master P. Let's go. Now, a lot of people do not know that the history of Hollywood starts in the Bible. It's so funny because I tell people every day. I mean, when you're growing up, they just tell you that the Bible is just one book because the Vatican, which is run by Satan himself, is just one book that you may not necessarily have to read because it's just a bunch of stories, and they try to make you feel like the Bible, it has some sort of allegory to it, and none of the stories are actually true. They are just symbolic in nature and all of that. But the Bible, from the book of Genesis to the book of Revelation, is a literal account of real history, the history of our world. And when you get a book, you'll have that full understanding of the things that you never ever knew about. So when we say that a book is the second most important book that you have to read, we say that with all humility and sincerity for anybody who has gotten that book and has read it so far. So get the book, please, and do not forget your Bible, especially the Geneva Bible and the King James Bible. So the history of Hollywood starts in the Bible. So that book that they tell you not to read has all the information that you need to understand your world. Even though the translation that we have today in the Bible, especially the Geneva Bible, which is the first mass-produced Bible, has a bit of, undertones in the sense that the people who translated the Bible from either Greek or from either Hebrew translated some of the things wrongly. Okay? When I say translated some of the things wrongly, I'm saying, for example, that they changed the name of Yehoshua to Jesus. Okay? And today, the Vatican, the current new Vatican which runs the world, which came from Asia, the great grandsons of Genghis Khan and his generals who run the world through the Vatican, used a new letter to change that name of Yehoshua, which already has been misconstrued by the translators of the Bible to Jesus, to Jesus, because they brought about the letter J. The letter J has never existed in the history of mankind until the Vatican, until the albino Vatican, which came from Asia, took over the Vatican. And if you've heard me say that word albino in reference to anybody who has straight hair, you have to understand that the word white, because a lot of people call themselves white, doesn't matter if you're Asian or Asian as in Asian living in Asia right now. Once you have straight hair, you can fall under that terminology of saying that you're white. White is not a color. White is in no way a reference to a color, because white is an absence of all color. That's why you start painting with a white background, because it's an absence of all color. All right? White is not a color. The word white, when used in reference to human beings, comes from the Latin word called albus. All right, and albus means a lack of melanin, so it's not referring to a color. So for more understanding of that, get a book or get on the channel Tricks of the S Trade and look for the series called The Myth of Whiteness. All right, it's a playlist that contains about, I think, up to 13 or 14 or 25 videos. I don't know how long right now, because we don't know. We're not really interested in much about that, because the Vatican might shut that particular channel down at any point in time. They've landed several strikes on it. So get our book and watch those videos if the channel is still up. It will do you a whole lot of good. So getting back to what I was saying, that the Bible is the most important book that you would have to study. The real education that you need is your Bible. It's not in the schools, as we've shown you, in which they're showing you things that are not practical, because everything inside the Bible is practical and makes common sense. And in this Bible, it shows you the beginnings of Hollywood. Now, before we start reading this particular portion of the Bible to show you the actual history of Hollywood, we need to take a look at the word Hollywood. What does Hollywood mean? Because Hollywood is made of two words, holly and wood. And a lot of people think that when they see Hollywood, because it's spelled HOLLYWOOD, they actually think it's talking about a holly tree. All right? But let's see what it means first of all before we come back and start reading this real history of Hollywood in the Bible. So here is a page on Wikipedia which talks about Hollywood. You can pause the video at any point in time, copy out the link, or just type in Hollywood as in Hollywood, the city in which a lot of the movies, the propaganda arm of the Vatican, which is used to control our mental mindset and teach us and educate us in the New World Order, which the best explanation I can give for the New Order is Satanism, and that's what Hollywood does to us through the music and the movies and everything that we learn, the fashion from Hollywood. So getting back to this page, you can see right now that Hollywood is spelled HOLLYWOOD. Sorry, did I say OO2? I'm sorry about that. I'm having a cold, so I might be all over the place, so pardon me, okay? I'm going to try to slow my speech as much as possible so you guys can have an understanding. So Hollywood is spelled HOLLYWOOD. And as you can see right here, it is spelled, it is pronounced right here, Hollywood. If you follow the pronunciation right here, it's spelled is HOLEWWD. Okay, WW. So you guys understand what I'm saying, all right? It said is a neighborhood in the central region of Los Angeles, California. All right. Now, if you look at this pronunciation right here, you see that it's not a holly tree, as we've been made to believe. It's talking about its holy wood. That means holy, as in the Bible when you hear the word holy. So what does holy mean? That's the first thing that we have to take a look into today. What does it mean to be holy for all intent and purposes? Because we hear that word a lot, especially if you're in religion or if you read the Bible, you hear that word holy, HOLY. What does it mean to be holy? Does it mean to walk a certain way, talk a certain way, and not do certain things? What does it mean to be holy? So let's define that first before we can continue on with this conversation. So if you type in the word holy at the website at Merriam-Webster right here online, to understand the meaning of holy, because when you study your Bible and you hear the word holy, all you think about is going to be the definition that Merriam-Webster right here gives us. So you can pause the video at any point in time, copy out this link, or just say Merriam-Webster online and then go type in the word holy and see what results come up, because that's what we're going to read. Now, it says here, holy. Definition of holy. It says, exalted or worthy of complete devotion as one perfect in goodness and righteousness. Because this is the mindset that we have when we hear the word holy. And this is the mindset that the world imparts onto us. So it makes people to have this sort of, religious nature, thinking that being holy means being completely devoted to something, and being righteous and being good means you're holy, right? Sounds good, right? Okay, let's keep on reading. It says, another example here says divine. So to be holy means to be divine. Divine meaning that you're not of flesh and blood. You're not of this world. You're from, a lot of people can say, I'm divine. That means you probably hear people say, I'm from Mars, I'm from Venus, I'm for any of the wandering stars out there, because they are wandering stars. The word planet it means a wandering star. In all sincerity, you can get on the when you get our book and get all this understanding, so that you can get real understanding of life. Please get our book. We're not just trying to sell you a book. We're trying to put real information in your hands, a concealed mystery. So when you hear people say they're from Mars or Venus, they're talking about planets. And planets, the word planets from means a wandering star, and the earth is not a planet because the earth is not moving. It's not a wandering star. So another definition of holy here says devoted entirely to the deity or the work of deity, a holy temple, holy prophets. And this is some of the understanding that we get from the word holy. It means to be devoted entirely to the deity or the work of the deity. Another thing says having a divine quality, holy love, venerated, or as if sacred, holy scripture. Another one says use as an intensive. This is a holy mess. He was a holy terror when he drank Thomas, and all that fine definition. So this is the definition that we get, the understanding that we get from the word holy. But is that the true and real definition of it? Because all of it is trying to make us believe that we are either good, it means good, to be righteous, in which a lot of people will say they act a certain way, do some certain things because they are holy people. You hear that with the Hebrew Israelite, the fake Hebrew Israelite religion that's going on in the world, and so many other kind of religions on the meaning of holy. And you also hear the word that holy means divine. That means a worship of a deity or something. But is it the true meaning? So let's get back into the real meaning of what the word holy is. So this is one of the few examples you're going to find out in that when the people were translating the Bible from either the Hebrew or the Greek tongue, they translated some of the words in such a way that it gave a different meaning from what it actually represented. Even though if you study the Bible in the context of the words, the history and the time and the people to which it was written to, for the stories that we hear, because they are not stories, they are actual literal things that did happen, then you'll come to an understanding of what that particular word meant. So let's take a look at the Bible to see the actual definition of where the word holy comes from. So let's go do that. So we're at a website here. You could pause the video, copy out that link right there so you can understand this, because I'm just using this website because I have studied it on my own. So I'm just using the website just as a matter of, explaining it better so you guys can understand. It says, what does the word holy mean? Bible definition of holy. So according to the Bible, it says, let's just read what this website says. It said, God is holy, but what exactly does the word holy mean? I mean, it seems like I'm the one talking through this website right here. What does the Bible define as holy? So remember, all of this is trying to make you understand the real history of Hollywood, because we showed you that Hollywood is not, the name Hollywood is not from a holly tree, all right? And we showed you that the pronunciation is Hollywood. That means it's talking about holy wood. The real pronunciation is holy wood, not Hollywood, as we say it. Okay, it says root word for holy right here. Let's continue on. It says the Hebrew word for holy is kodesh. All right, so the word translated as holy in the Bible is the Hebrew word kodesh. All right, as you can see right there, and it says and it means apartness. All right, set apartness, separateness, so sacredness. Now, let's not worry about too much of the sacredness, even though it means, um, you know, let's just throw out the word sacred right here, because you're gonna understand. Sorry, you're gonna understand the meaning of holy without that word sacredness. Because when you try reading into the meaning of sacredness, you're gonna get confused about the whole idea of the word holy. So throw it out of your mind. Sacredness, just throw it out. Okay. Now, the real meaning of holy means set apart or separateness. All right. So that means to be separate from something. So let me use very simple words which you can understand. I'm trying to use words that would be. I'm trying to use some analogy here that's going to be very, very simple. So let's say, for example, I'm going to use the context of a woman. The reason why I'm going to use the context of a woman is because women have a very close relationship with their clothes. Okay, I'm a man. I'm very fine with just wearing my shorts and a tank top anywhere I go. I don't really care about how I look. But females and women in general always pay special attention to their appearance. So that's why I'm going to use the context of a woman right here to explain the meaning of the word kodesh, or the meaning of a word to be separate. Okay? So now, here we go. So let's say you're a woman, okay? And you have so many clothes, okay? Let's say, typical example, you have like maybe 50 clothes and dresses in your wardrobe. There are certain clothes that you set aside, all right, to wear on special occasions. Special occasions could be you're going out to dinner, or you're going out taking your kids somewhere, or you're going for an event, and you want to look a little bit different. So those clothes are only worn on those occasions. All right. What you have done is that you've made those clothes holy. Why are the clothes holy? You've separated them from your whole entire wardrobe. You do not mix them. You do not wear them all the time. You have a separate space for them in your wardrobe because there are special clothes. Same with some handbags, same with some jewelry, same with so many other things that you have. So when you separate something, you put something aside for a special occasion, or you put something aside from the general use that you normally would use it for, you have made that thing holy. So the real meaning of the word holy in the Bible means to be separated apart, to be separate. So when God told the children of Israel, be holy unto me, what does he mean? He said, what he was saying was, be separated from the public, from the Gentiles, and be a different kind of people. So once you separate yourself from the general public, or what is known to be common usage of anything, you have made yourself holy. It's just as simple as that. So it has nothing to do with sacredness, because immediately you apply the word sacredness to holy, you're going to be thinking about it in a religious sense, but that's not what it's talking about. Holy just means you're separate. You separated yourself, or you separate something from its normal everyday use, and you're using it only on special occasions. Does it make sense? So now, getting back to what we're talking about, the real history of Hollywood. So if we understand that Hollywood is not talking about a holly tree, but is saying holy wood, two words, that means separate wood. Does it make sense? Separate wood. So what is this wood separated for is the question that we're going to answer now. So let's continue and get back to that portion of the Bible that we wanted to read for you to see the origins of Hollywood. Okay? So before I read that portion of the Bible, I just want you to understand this up to this point, that Hollywood here means holy wood, even though we pronounce it holly. It's not in reference to a holy tree. It's in reference to being holy. That means a separated wood. But what we're going to know is what is it separated for. So getting back to the Bible to see the origins of Hollywood, I'm going to read a few things that is going to make you understand where we're going. The history of Hollywood starts with a worship of a deity. All right? And that deity was called Diana. All right? And the deity was worshipped by the Greeks first, and then by let me just put it in perspective, right? The black woolly haired Greeks, because the Greeks were all black with woolly hair, and they are Africans, okay? And so are the Romans, the black woolly haired Romans. Pagan. All right? Now, the worship of Diana as a deity, all right, is the origins of Hollywood, or separated wood, as we're going to show you now. And it started with the Greeks, and then the Romans also worshipped her as well. So in this Bible, we're going to show you that. But just to make you understand, I don't know which direction I should be going so you guys can understand this Bible. Let me go to show you how Hollywood, or holy wood, that means separated wood, what is a worship of a deity called Diana. All right. So when you hear that name Diana, a lot of people bear that name Diana. The name is in reference to a deity that was worshipped by the Greeks, and all through history from the beginning of time for a very long time. And then the woolly-haired Romans during the Roman Empire built a temple, a very unique temple in a place called Nemi, Italy, for Diana. And it's from that place, because they call that city Nemi, Italy. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. It's spelled Nemi. From Nemi, Italy, they built a temple for the worship of Diana in a place in some woods, and they call that place Holy Wood. And from then on, that's how Hollywood came to be in the United States, because when the Roman Empire fell, all right, there was still the worship of Diana going on. When the Asian hordes with Genghis Khan and his generals came into Europe and killed a lot of black woolly haired people, and were taking over Europe, because your Europeans were becoming very defenseless, because they were fighting so many wars for our crusades against the Muslims, against the black woolly haired Muslims, to take over Jerusalem. They became depleted. So their armies were depleted. And so when the Asians and Genghis Khan came in through from Asia, all right, into Europe, and they were defenseless. And from then, those black woolly-haired monarchs started fleeing all around the world, giving birth to colonization, which is now faked as the transatlantic slave trades by the great-grandsons of Genghis Khan and his generals. Because the one thing that Genghis Khan told his generals and his grandsons to do was to take over the world, because he had taken over, according to him, which he had taken over Asia and Europe and a little bit of North Africa. So that's what they're doing. So those black woolly-haired monarchs, which were worshipping Diana as a god, when they came over to the United States, the Americas in general, and were creating new colonies for themselves, wanted to continue on with the worship of their pagan deities. All right. So they found a place in California, all right, which looked like the same temple that was built in Nemi, Italy. I don't know if it's pronounced Nemi or Nemi, but it's spelled Nemi, Italy. They found a certain location for that to build another temple in Hollywood, the place that is called Hollywood today. All right. So that's how that history goes. So let me read that portion of for you guys to understand that Diana, the deity, all right, which was worshipped in the Bible, which I'm going to read here according to the time that Paul the Apostle was living, was a deity that was worshipped in Nemi, Italy, in a place that was called Hollywood. And then from then, when those pagan, wicked black woolly head pagans came over to the Americas, decided to bring that deity along with them and found a place that reminded them of Nemi, Italy, and named it Hollywood in memory of that temple to Diana. So let's do that. So you could pause the video at any point in time, copy out this link right here. It talks about Diana in mythology. And you can see the appearance of Diana right here. Oh, sorry about that. Let me go back. You can see the appearance of Diana right here in this Wikipedia page. So Diana, the deity that's been worshipped, which we're going to show how, because Diana was a god that was worshipped throughout a lot of the ancient world and the world after Yehoshua came. She always had this appearance, right? You can see this is the picture of Diana. She's always been known to carry some, some sort of arrow and arrows and a bow. And let's just read something about Diana here, the deity, all right? It says Diana mythology. Diana, classical Latin, Diana, was the goddess of the hunt, the moon, and nature in Roman mythology, associated with wild animals and woodland. So you see that right here? Associated with wild animals and woodland. All right? So remember that. That's why you have Hollywood. It says, and having the power to talk to and control animals. She was equated with the Greek goddess Artemis, though she had an independent origin in Italy. So this independent origin in Italy. Independent, that means even though Diana was known around the ancient world for a very, very long time and throughout history, the Italians made a different origin, all right? They made her to have an all-independent origin, the Romans, the black woolly-haired Romans, for worship. So this is what Diana looks like. And let me show you how Diana is portrayed in so many movies today, which a lot of people watch and don't have that understanding, because we're still trying to show you the real history of Hollywood, and we'll get back into the Bible to show you that. But we just wanted to show you what Diana looks like today in the worship. So if you watched, this is, I typed in on my search engine Goddess Diana right here, and you can see how they portray Diana right here. She's always with some sort of bow and arrow right here, as you can see. Artemis Diana right here, a Greek god. If you go through all this, you always see her being portrayed with a bow, arrow, and a moon, like you can see right here, the crescent moon. So in today's Hollywood depiction of Diana, how is she depicted? Because a lot of people watch movies without knowing that Diana is being depicted in those movies, Hollywood. So for example, if you watch the movie Tomb Raider was once acted by Lara Croft. Was once acted by, what's the name of this lady again? Angelina Jolie. All right. This was a portrayal of the deity Diana, and even the new Tomb Raider acted by what's the name of this lady again who's acting the new Tomb Raider movie? What's her name? Let me get her name right. So because I always want to give you the right information. So the name of the lady is Alicia Vikander. I hope I have the name right. Alicia Vikander. So you can see right here that Diana, she has a bow and an arrow because she is a portrayal of the deity Diana. All right, which the Romans made a very special temple in Italy, in the city of Nemi, which looks almost like the city of Hollywood today because of the way the hills look, in honor of that deity. So here's another portrayal of Diana right here, and that's portrayed in the Hunger Games. And what's the name of this lady in the Hunger Games? What's her name? Jennifer Lawrence. You see that she's in those Hunger Game movies. She was carrying a bow and an arrow, as you see right here, like Diana. All right. And remember, Diana also, according to the official histories that we see right here, let me go back to that again. Hold on a second. Let me go back to that history again. So I wanted to read to you that the way Diana appears, the deity Diana, because I want to show you another picture of how she's portrayed in certain movies for us to worship without knowing that we are actually worshiping the goddess Diana. It says a physical description here. You can pause the video still at the same article that I was reading from Wikipedia on Diana. It says, as a goddess of hunting, Diana often wears a short tunic and hunting boots. She's often portrayed holding a bow and carrying a quiver on her shoulder, accompanied by a deer or hunting dogs. Like Venus, she was portrayed as beautiful and youthful. The crescent moon, sometimes worn as a diadem, is a major attribute of the goddess. So if you look at this picture of Diana right here, this should remind you of somebody very, very unique that we do watch on TV. And that's the picture of, let me see if I can scroll down for you guys to see how she just looks here. You can see it should remind you of somebody very, very specific that we watch a lot on certain movies and TV. Hunting boots right here, short tunic. Who does that remind you of, if you can recall to memory? Well, this should remind you of Wonder Woman. So here's another portrayal of the goddess Diana in so many movies that we watch without actually knowing. Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman here was always portrayed in a short tunic like this, the DC Comics version. And Wonder Woman has recently been acted by this lady called Gal Gadot. She's 100% female and not a mutilated one in any way. So if you're slandering on this particular channel, you're going to be called out for that. So this is the many portrayals of Diana in movies from where you have Hollywood, okay? Because the Italians made a very special place. They elevated the let me say it right. The Romans elevated the worship of Diana to a different kind of worship, and it is believed that the woolly-haired Roman Empire, black people, or the woolly-haired Romans rather, did some of the most craziest, most wicked types of ritual sacrifices for this god called Diana. And those wicked sacrifices that they made of, they killed children, men, women. I can't even begin to talk about the number of people that they killed in that temple of Diana, which they made in Nîmes, Italy. This has been carried into culture today because a lot of people are slain by Hollywood. Their lives have been destroyed totally by Hollywood because it is still in worship to the god or ancient deity of Diana. So let me go show you that information. So after showing you all these modern portrayals of the goddess Diana, which we are worshiping without knowing, and then show you the history of Diana, the history of Diana from the Bible as well. So let's go do that. So remember, we talked about that Diana was a god, deity that was worshipped by a lot of people all throughout history of humankind. And then we also showed you that she had the god Diana had an independent origin in Italy. That means the after being worshipped throughout history in portrayals as a moon kind of goddess, Diana was independently made into a god. That means the Italians gave this deity what we would say a makeover. All right? Because people, you have to understand this. There is nothing new in this world, just like the Bible says. Everything is just an upgrade or a makeover. So there are no new gods. These are just old gods reinventing themselves as the new. There's nothing new in this world. So for example, um, the best explanation I can give you about this is using a car. All right. People think that automobiles are new inventions. They are all old inventions because the car that we drive today are the cartwheels or chariots that were dragged by horses. You have to remember that. The wheels and cartwheels were dragged by horses. Those are modern inventions that we call automobiles or cars today. Because remember, how is a car called a car today? The car has an engine, and the engine is calculated in terms of horsepower. Does it make sense? So we're still using the same thing because the engine of a car is still termed after a horse, the number of horsepower that the engine has. So you are still technically using a lot of horses to pull our cartwheels faster. So there is nothing new in this world. So when we talk about the fact that the Romans had an independent origin in Italy about this god Diana, they were just reinventing an old god into a new god. And when they did that, they gave her a temple in a place called Nemi, Italy. Right here, it's called Lake Nemi in the modern city of Nemi. Latin Nemus Aricinum, as I'm reading right here. So you can pause the video at any point in time, copy out this link, and go read about the independent origins of Diana, the god Diana or goddess Diana, and then from there, Diana was given an independent, or let's say a new makeover by the Romans in Lake Nemi. And they named the place that they gave this new invention for a god that has been always worshipped throughout history as Hollywood, and was called Diana of the Wood, as you see right here. All right. So the Italians gave the new name, an independent origin or makeover for an old god, and gave him a place in Italy. All right. So let's read. It says, Diana Nemorensis, Diana of Nemi, all right, also known as Diana of the Wood, all right. Remember those two things. Diana of the Wood was an Italic form of the goddess who became Hellenized during the 4th century BCE and conflated with Artemis. Her sanctuary, the new sanctuary for this old god, was to be found on the northern shore of Lake Nemi, beneath the cliffs of the modern city Nemi. So when you take a look at this picture is reminiscent of the new Hollywood that we have in California today. All right, we'll read that. We'll show you some more pictures of this later, but let's keep on reading this. It says here, let me keep on reading. It says, her sanctuary was to be found on the northern on the northern shore of Lake Nemi, beneath the cliffs of the modern city Nemi. Now let's get into Nemi and read some few things that's gonna blow your mind. So we click on Nemi here using this link in the Wikipedia, and he goes to show you, says let's read, because I want you guys to follow me. You can pause the video at any point in time, copy of this link. It says, Nemi is a town and commune in the metropolitan city of Rome. So you guys can see here that everything, when they say all roads lead to Rome, everything does indeed lead to Rome. Okay, let's keep on reading. It says, Nemi is a town coming in the metropolitan city of Rome, central Italy, in the Alban Hills overlooking Lake Nemi, a volcanic crater lake. It is 6 kilometers, 4 miles northwest of Velletri, and about 30 kilometers, 19 miles southeast of Rome. The town's name derives from the Latin nemus. Now pay attention now, or holy wood. Now, why was it called Hollywood? Because remember, the god's name that the Romans, the black woolly-haired Romans, gave a name to was a reinvention of an old god called Diana. They call her Diana of, let me see the name again. Diana Nemorensis, all right? From Diana Nemorensis They gave her they built a special temple for her in Rome. The black woolly haired Romans did this in a town called Nemi. All right. It says that the town's name derives from the Latin nemus. Nemus meaning holy wood. So it's from holy wood because, like I explained earlier, when this woolly headed Romans were getting away from Europe, that was slowly changing from black with woolly hair to albino with pale skin and straight hair, because they were being taken over and run over by Genghis Khan. They were trying to create their new world, a new wall away from the old wall. And that's what they came to do in the Americas. So you can see that a lot of the American architecture, American towns and cities are named after Europe. Why? Because the woolly head, those black European monarchs, all right, who came all the way from the fall of the Roman Empire, who were fleeing Europe, were trying to create a new world for themselves so they could continue what they were doing in Europe in the Americas, because the great grandsons of Genghis Khan had taken over Europe. Does it make sense? So they were trying to find all certain places that they could always have a memory of what it used to be like in Europe. And they found one of these places in California and called it Hollywood because it reminded them of the town of Nemi in Italy, where that had originated the worship of the god Diana from. We'll show you some pictures of Nemi for you guys to see what it looks like. That it looks and exactly like the city of Hollywood in California, from where all the movies that we watch, which is shaping our minds every day, is being made. So let me show you that. If you guys have noticed that that the word Nemu or Nemus is means Hollywood. And let me keep on reading a few stuff before I get into showing you some pictures of the city of Nemi. It says, in antiquity, the area had no town, but the grove. So the building of the temple, all right, in the town of Nemi, Italy, which is given the name Nemi because it was a holy place for the god Diana, gave birth to the name Hollywood. It says, so let's keep on reading for you just to see that. It says, in antiquity, the area had no town, but the grove was the site of one of the most famous of Roman cults and temples, that of Diana Nemorensis. All right? So I want you guys to remember that. So let's get to see what Nemi looks like. So here's the city of Nemi. And if you did not know, all right, that you were looking at Nemi, you would probably think you were looking at Hollywood right here, because this looks like Hollywood. It looks like you're looking over Hollywood, the hills of Hollywood right here, if you guys notice this. So let me show you some more pictures of the town of Nemi in Italy. So I typed it in your search engine, Nemi, Italy, right here, and here's some amazing pictures that come up from the ruins of that temple, which those black woolly haired Roman people had, which they were sacrificing. So much crazy things that we're going to read off in the Bible. So here's one of the grove sites. He says, Vesta Temple, Nemi. As you can see right here, this looks like the hills of Hollywood that we have today. All right. I want you guys to take a good look at that. There's so many pictures here that you can take a look at. This is the Lake Nemi, which they said was it's referred to as the mirror of Diana. And you can see that right there. And let me show you some other valid pictures of the town Nemi. And you can see right here, this looks like if you're looking at, let's say, the hills of Hollywood. That's how that name came to be, which we'll show you. And look at that right here. These are some of the hills right here over the Lake Nemi, and you can see how these hills remind you of the city of Hollywood. And here is some valid pictures right here. You could pause the video at any point in time, copy out that link, and go look at some very great pictures of Nemi, from which actually means Hollywood, because of the temple that was built in respect to the god Diana, that which these black wicked black woolly-haired Roman Empire Romans did, which we're going to talk about in the we're going to read about in the Bible as well. Sorry if I'm all over the place. Like I said, having a little bit of a cold, so that's all. And you can see right there, right? These are all the let's scroll a little bit further down. Here is that picture again that shows you the hills of Nimi, Italy, which looks like exactly the hills of Hollywood. Let me see if I can pull a picture of that side by side for you guys just to see that. And you can see this is the statue of the god Diana, right, looking over those hills. Because if you go to the city of Nimi, Italy today, you find and go to the old temple sites, you see it all there. Let me see if I can pull a picture of Hollywood side by side for you guys to see. So here is a picture of the Hollywood sign, Hollywood right here. And if you pull this to the side and see that it looks exactly like the hills of Nimi over here, from where the temple to the god Diana was built, in which theists or black woolly-haired people from the fallen empire of the Roman Empire brought over to the United States of America, because they were trying to run away from Europe that was changing. That means they had lost reins from it, and we're trying to build a new type of, Europe in the United States of America. That's why they called America's the New World. So you can see that this looks exactly like the same hills of Nimi right here. So that's just what I wanted to show you. And let me go read some stuff from the Bible just to show you the origins of Diana, from where we have Diana Nemorensis of the Romans, which came about. Then we can continue on and get into the transvestigation of Miss Rick James and Miss Percy as well. So let's do that. So I'm going to start reading from a particular portion in the Geneva Bible. I'm going to reading from Acts chapter number 19. I'm reading from verse, I think I'll start reading from verse number 20. This is just the story after when Paul casted out a devil or a demon from someone, and someone else tried to do that, and the demon-possessed person ran up upon the person and told them, that they knew Paul and they knew Yeshua, but they did not know who this man was. So that was the story before the story. So remember, I'm reading from Acts chapter number 19. I'm going to be reading from verse 20 up, so you guys can see that the origins of Diana has been in the Bible, or Hollywood, because from Diana, it's from Diana that you have Diana of Nemorensis, which a temple was built for in Italy by the black woolly-haired Romans. And from then, when they came over to the United States or the Americas in general, they found a place that reminded them of their temple to their god Diana Nemorensis in Nimi, and they call that place Hollywood today. From Hollywood, we have all the movies and the worship of Diana continuing in the movies, like we showed you. Such movies as Hunger Games, Catching Fire, such movies as Tomb Raider and Wonder Woman in comics and in movies as well. So let's read here from verse 20 so you guys can see that it says, "So the word of God grew mightily and prevailed. Now when these things were accomplished, Paul proposed by the Spirit to pass through Macedonia and Achaia." Now Achaia here is Asia. This is how Asia was spelt. All right, you can see that this is what we're trying to show you, what the translators were doing. Because they translated some words correctly and some words incorrectly, but they'll translate it again, and you'll see that this is what the meaning, the true spelling of the word Asia. And Asia, as we use it today, was never ever used to the continent of Asia as we call it today. In the beginning of time, throughout history, Asia was always the area around Turkey, Macedonia today, before you get to Italy. All right, but today we call that part of the world, the continent of Asia, Asia, because the people who write our history, who came from Asia, wanted to give it that name. All right, so they gave it that name, and those people happen to be the great grandsons of Genghis Khan, who are alive and well in the Vatican today. They do not want the world to know that that is where their origins are from. because they want to keep on perpetuating this false history of us, because they are led by the devil themselves. Because you have to understand that anybody who runs this world and is seeking worldly power, because worldly power is not godly power, you have to deal with the devil. That's just fact. So let's keep on reading. He says, now when these things were accomplished, Paul proposed by the Spirit to pass through Macedonia and Asia. So this is the real spelling of Asia, right? You see the correction as we go on reading. It says, and to go to Jerusalem, saying, after I have been through, I must also see Rome. Okay? So that means you would have to pass through Asia and Macedonia to get to Rome. So that shows you exactly the places that was called Asia. Let's keep on reading. So he said, so sent he into Macedonia 2 of them that ministered unto him, Timothy and Erastus, but he remained in Asia for a season. See, now they spelt it now right. Okay? So this is the current spelling that we have for Asia, but this is the old spelling here. So whenever you see this in the Bible or anywhere in your history books, you should know it's talking about this. So see, this is what the translators of the Bible did. They would sometimes translate the things in the old spellings and maybe then in the new as well. Okay, so let's keep on reading. And at the same time, there arose no small trouble about that way. For a certain man named Demetrius, a silversmith, which made silver temples of Diana. See that? Diana, Hollywood, was in the Bible. Brought great gains into the craftsmen. Now, this particular temple of Diana that we're talking about is the temple in Nemi, which we just showed you. Let me go back to those pictures again. So here is that temple site in Nemi that the Bible is talking about. So this is how the Bible, every single word of the Bible is as true. This is where exactly the Bible is talking about when those temples were constructed, and this man, that silversmith, was creating coins or jewelry about the god Diana. So this is exactly that spot right here that we're reading about in this Bible. This is the place, it's called here Vista Temple Nemi. This is the whole remains of that temple that we're reading about right here. Okay? So let's keep on reading. It says, for a certain man, remember this was the Roman temple, because the Romans built that temple in honor of the god Diana in Nemi, Italy. This is where Paul was at. Okay? So let's keep on reading. It says, for a certain man, Demetrius, a silversmith, which made silver temples of Diana, brought great gains unto the craftsmen, whom he called together with the workmen of like things, and said, sirs, you know that by this craft we have our goods. Moreover, you see and hear that not alone at Ephesus. So, let me keep on reading before I explain what I'm saying. Moreover, you see and hear that not alone at Ephesus, but almost throughout all Asia, this Paul had persuaded and turned away much people, saying that they be not gods which are made with hands. So that not only this thing is dangerous unto us, that this our portion shall be reproved, but also that the temple of the great goddess Diana should be nothing esteemed, and that it would come to pass that her magnificence, which all Asia and the world worship it, should be destroyed. So this particular story is telling you how the goddess Diana was worshipped throughout all of Asia. Asia, talking about, let me show you in pictures the particular portion which is called Asia in the Bible right here. Is the part of Turkey right here, all the way up to this point right here before you get to Italy. So, but the goddess Diana was worshipped around everywhere, and we'll show you some temples of the goddess or god Diana from where we have Hollywood. Some of the great ruins of it. We've shown you one in Nemi, Italy. So let's continue on reading. It says here that where was I? Okay, I'm reading again from verse number. Where should I read from? Continue on. Okay, let me read from verse number 24. All right. Right? Did I stop right there? Okay, let me read from verse 26 and continue on. Okay, it says, moreover, you see and hear that not alone at Ephesus, but almost throughout all Asia, this Paul had persuaded and turned away much people, saying that they be not gods which are made with hands. So that not only this thing is dangerous unto us, that this our portion shall be reproved, but also that the temple of the great goddess Diana should be nothing esteemed, and that it would come to pass that her magnificence, which all Asia and the world worship, should be destroyed. Now when they heard of it, they were full of wrath and cried out, saying, Great is Diana of the Ephesians. And the whole city was full of confusion, and they rushed unto the common place with one accord and caught Gaius and Aristarchus, men of Macedonia, and Paul's companions of his journey. So let me show you some of the temples that this Diana was worshipped in across all that area, which the Romans made a very special temple for her in a place called Nemi, Italy. So here is a picture of the temple Diana, a temple of Artemis. All right, it says the temple of Artemis or Artemisian. You could pause the video any point in time, copy out this link, or just get in your search engine and type out Temple of Artemis, also known. Let me continue reading. It says, also known less precisely as the Temple of Diana. So here's the temple right here in Istanbul, right? This particular temple, I think, was built on the ruins of the old one because the old temple was destroyed. But this is the actual location of the temple in Ephesus, in which the Bible talks about right here. Okay? That the goddess Diana was worshipped all across that area. So I hope that you guys have learned something, because I think this video is continuing on way too long. We didn't intend for it to be that long, but at least you guys know the real history of Hollywood now, that the same sacrifices that was carried on in the worship of Diana is still being done, and the worship of Diana hasn't stopped, as we have shown you in some of the movies that are made and which people go to watch, not knowing that they're looking at worshiping Diana. Because when you're cheering for your hero in the movie, you're actually cheering in the worship of that God, because it's that God that's saving the day. Does it make sense? So that's what a lot of the movies and portrayals in movies that we watch are about. They're in the worship of deities. And as we all know, as according to the Bible, what the Bible says, that all these deities are demons. And demons are children of the fallen angels, right? Which no longer have a body. So they have to influence the world by, possessing other people. And in most cases, these actors and actresses are made as living embodiments, a vessel for those demons to possess and make us to continue worshiping them as they were worshipped during the times before the flood. For more understanding of that history, please do get up, because we do not have time to go into such deep explanations. Get the book and have a full understanding of all this. We're trying to put real information and real history in your own hands. So with that, let's continue on with the transvestigation of Rick James and Master P. So we start the transvestigation with Miss Rick James right here. As you can see, Miss Rick James has an acute Q angle that's below the crotch, right? See that? Acute Q angle below the crotch, the Q angle of a woman. And Miss Rick James, as we call her Miss Rick James right now, because we know that she's actually the person who happens to be Rick James is a Miss and not a Mister. As you can see right here, Rick James is trying to place the hands on the male waist, but it doesn't exist, right? So what she does is placing the hand on the female pelvis and the cute Q angle below the crotch, because Rick James here is 100% female and was never a man in any way, and been deceiving the whole world, a stooge of the Vatican, like we've talked about before, that so many of these artists and so many of the people that we watch in Hollywood, that the Vatican constructs them to be living embodiments of the gods that were worshipped during before the flood. For more of that understanding, or the people rather that they were worshipped before the flood as gods, who now don't have those bodies anymore, their spirits live on and possess men, and they're the ones responsible for all the havoc and mayhem that's happening in our world, because they're all in accordance walking with the devil himself and Satan. So let's continue on with some more pictures of Miss Rick James. And here's Miss Rick James again. As you can see, this is a female demeanor, because like we've talked about before, that women act the way they act, not because they want to, but because their bones, their structure, their genetics makes them act the way they do. All right. So when you hear the word genetics, It's just talking about your bones. Don't get so confused, because there's no such thing as DNA or all that nonsense that you hear. All you have are bones. Your bones are your genetics. When they say you have great genetics, what they're saying in essence is that you have great bones. But because they've trained you to believe in the world of academics, as I've shown you, which is not which is just theory and not practical, you think they're talking about some crazy sort of cells or whatsoever. No, it's talking about your bones. So Miss Rick James here is acting in a female demeanor because she's actually one and not a man in any way. You can see that spreading of the pubic arch, right? Oh, sorry, the spreading of the pelvis as it gets wider, because this is the pelvis of a female and not that of a man. As you can see how wide it starts to stretch from underneath her elbows as she gets wider all the way down, because Rick James was all the way female and never male in any way. Let's go to another picture of Rick James. And as you can see right here on this particular picture, Rick James has a very high set navel in the torso of the body. Why? Because Rick James is 100% female. No male will have this kind of high navel point inside the torso of the body. A man's navel will be lower and closer to wherever his belt is. But looking at the structure of, Rick James right here, we understand just by looking at this picture, we know that the pants that she's wearing right here are specially constructed to make her have the short pubic arch of a male, but this high set navel point in the torso tells you that it's female, because Rick James was 100% female, not a man in any way. Here's Rick James again with that high set navel point, and you can see how she starts curving, all right, because Rick James is 100% female with a female demeanor, acting like one. You can tell that's so, because when women act the way they act, they don't do that because they're acting. They act that way because their bones make them act that way. So even with a very effeminate man, a man who's trying to act like a female, when you look at that person act, after a while, you're going to see that maleness. That male is going to show you the awkwardness of the action because it's male. You can't cross genders. You can't change genders, because you can change the skeletal structure, which always remains the same. Let's go to another picture of Rick James here, and you can see Rick James right here. You can see the cute Q angle below the crotch and the curves, because that pelvis is tilted forward. That's the pelvic tilt of a black woman. If you notice right here, let me see if I can blow this picture up as much as I can. You can see that's the pelvic tilt of a female standing, and not that of any man in any way, because Rick James was 100% female and not male. All right, let's go to another picture of Rick James. You can still notice the acute Q angle that's below the crotch, and you can see that this is the female pelvic region, even with the way these thighs sit and the curves right here. Right, see that acute Q angle below the crotch, because Rick James is 100% female, even though this picture is in black and white, because the Vatican is trying to hide some more stuff on this. But you can still see clearly that this is the skeletal structure of a woman all day, because Rick James is 100% female. Let's go to another picture of Rick James. And still the same thing right here. And a lot of people pay close attention to this and say this is a devil horns, but we don't really care, because people do not get lost in all the symbology and the symbology that a lot of people use, and a lot of these celebrities use. Don't get lost in it, because you're reading too much into it. Just know the truth for yourself and know what's out there, and don't get trying to understand a lot of the symbols. It doesn't make any sense. But we just wanted to show you that Rick James here, even though the shadow right here shows you that this is the shadow of a female standing, because you can see how huge this pelvis is, and the cute Q angle that's below the crotch, because Rick James is 100% female, not a man in any way. Let's go to another picture of Rick James. Still the same thing, trying to find the male waist, but it doesn't exist, but rather her hands go to the female pelvis, and you can see how long the butt is and the cute Q angle, and this specially sewn pants to make the crotch seem to appear longer when it actually ends here, because Rick James is 100% female and not a man in any way, and acting like one, because that's her true nature, and she's not a man. All right, Rick James again here. You can see the arch in the back, because right here, as you can see, where the creases of this cloth is where the small female rib cage is at, and the waist starts right below that, and you can see this arch right here because Rick James is 100% female and not a man in any way. You can see there's an arch right there because Rick James is 100% female. Let's go to another picture of Rick James. Here's Rick James with a crew. I don't know what crew this is, but this is Rick James right here. You can see the long butt of a black woman right here. Let me see if I can blow this picture up as much as I can so you guys can see it very clearly. That's the long butt of a female right there all the way down because Rick James is 100% female and not a man in any way. Trying to find the male waist, but it doesn't exist. So she puts her hands on the female pelvis because Rick James is female. Let's go to another picture. Rick James here standing like a woman. This is how a woman places her hands on her waist when she's tired, because that's the waist location, and it's always going to be above the navel, above it. And you can see the long butt of a black woman here all the way down because the Q angle is below the crotch. This picture is in black and white, but that's the best we can do in trying to blow it up so you guys can see that it's below the crotch because Rick James is 100% female and not a man anyway. Let's go to another picture of Rick James again. Here's Rick James acting like a woman all night and day. Clear, so clear. That's it. See that? Acting like a woman with the hand raised and the way, the mannerisms and the singing. It's all female because Rick James is female, not a man in any way. Another picture of Rick James. This was when Rick James was much more older, and you can see the smoothness of the face. So we are wondering right now if the mustache that she had was actually fake, because it seems like she didn't grow any facial hair, because you can see how she looks right here. That's a woman, not a man. Let's go to another picture of Rick James again, and you can still see that's a female right there with this acute Q angle, which is below the crotch. You can see how wide this pelvic region is as it spreads all the way down, because this is a woman standing and not a man. She can't even find the male waist because it doesn't exist. That's the female pelvis. That's not how a man would put his hands on his waist. See how awkward it looks? Because it's 100% female and not a man anyway. Rick James. Rick James again, as you can see, the long butt of a female black woman right there, because Rick James is 100% female and not a man in any way. Here's another picture of Rick James again. You can see how large this pelvis is as it spreads, and the specially sewn pants to make you believe the crotch is right here when it's right there, and this acute Q angle is below it because Rick James is 100% female. Here's Rick James with Mike Tyson. That's why I'm saying you can never make any role models of anybody, because they're all working for the system of albino supremacy. Or should I put it right? The system of the great-grandsons of Genghis Khan and his generals, which are running the world and doing so much nonsense that we can't even begin to think about. And Mike Tyson would happen to be a stooge. And I pity him. Sometimes when I look at Mike Tyson, I kind of pity him because he still looks like that small boy, trying to, get out of whatever problems or neighborhood that he had, just trying to make a living. And I pity him because his mind has been so messed up by those who took him and trained him to be the boxer that he was, which happens to be the Vatican. And here is him with Rick James. And you can see how he looks uncomfortable doing this, because I'm very sure he knows for a fact that Rick James is a female. But there's nothing he can do about it, because he's probably very afraid of his life. Because even though he puts up that, demeanor of being very tough on the outside, I can still see that he's still a scared man. He's really, really scared, and I pity the poor guy. But that's why you can't make any role models of them, because they don't tell you any truth. They can't tell you any truth because there's so much living in fear of everything that's going to be taken away from them if they tell you the truth. And some of them, not all of them. Some of them flat out know exactly what they're doing. But in any case, don't make any role models of anybody. Because if he was trying to tell you guys the truth and be an outstanding citizen, as he tries to make a lot of young people believe, he should have told you that Rick James here is female, not a male. But Mike Tyson never said that in any way. Let's go another picture, and here is Rick James with Eddie Murphy. And all throughout the years, we've always heard that Eddie Murphy loves males, and they use the word, is it transvestites? That's the word they wanted to use. But like we've told you, there is no such thing as a transvestite or transgender, because you can't cross genders. It's just a name that the Vatican wants us to believe that people can cross genders. What you have are mutilated males and females. And we've always heard that Eddie Murphy here loves all these weird looking people, and so this is clear evidence because we can see that he's with one right here in Rick James, and he never ever told you that Rick James was a transgender. So those stories are actually true, which the Vatican made us know because the Vatican runs Hollywood and they own Eddie Murphy and Rick James here. Let's go to another picture right here. Here's Rick James with Isaac Hayes. Isaac Hayes, if he wanted to tell you the truth, he should have told you right from the get-go that Rick James here was a woman, but he never did. And Isaac Hayes is just looking at him, looks like a very effeminate black man, and Vatican runs them both. So you can't make any role models of anybody. Okay, so that's the last picture we have for Rick James. Let's cross over to Master P. Master P with Corey Miller right here. You can still see that they look both alike. So every time that maybe you see Master P looking like a male is because Corey Miller right here is the doppelganger and making you believe that this is Master P when it's not, because Master P here is female and his brother is male, and his brother would have been the one who fathered the children that Master P has, like Symphonic and Romeo, which all claim to be Master P's children, but in reality would be the children of Corey Miller here, and Master P would just be passing them around as his own kids, and we keep on believing that Master P is actually female. Is actually male when he's female. Let's go into some other pictures right here. This is Master P, and this is Corey Miller with Romeo. So, like we've told you about in the theory of surrogates, please get on the channel on the primer video if you're hearing me say that for the first time, and watch that theory of surrogates video in which we explain all of that information that we're talking about right here. So Corey Miller would actually be the actual father of Romeo, all right, because she would have been the one who impregnated the lady that is happening, that we were told would be Master P's wife or whatsoever, because later on we heard stories that Master P had a divorce with a lady. The lady would never have been Master P would never have been able to get that lady pregnant. His brother here would have done so, and then this son in Romeo is passed off as Master P's son when it's not the case. So Master P would just happen to be an aunt of Romeo and not even an uncle, because Master P is 100% female, as we'll show you some more pictures. Here's Master P. Here is Corey Miller with Romeo. So Romeo, and this is one of the fake stories they tell us, that this guy is in jail because they're trying to keep him as much as they can out of the limelight, so we don't see that the Vatican has been messing around with us using Corey Miller here to tell us that it's Master P, so we can believe that Master P is actually male when he's not. This is not how the mind games they play. Here's Master P with the so-called son and daughter, which would happen to be the actual sons of C Murder or Corey Miller here, because Master P is 100% female, as we'll show you, and could never have fathered these children. Right? Does it make sense? So this is how the mind games that the Vatican plays on us. They use the siblings to create children for these people, so we all believe that they can, so that we're confused about it, rather, because when we see that they look alike, we actually believe, oh, they cannot be transgenders. Does it make sense? Let's go to some other pictures. Here is another picture of Percy Miller, and as you can see, Percy Miller has a very wide pubic arch for a male, very, very wide. You can see the distance of this pubic arch here is very, very wide, and this definitely cannot be male. So Percy Miller, or Master P as we call him, is 100% female and been deceiving a lot of people for a very long time, a stooge of the Vatican. Let's get to another picture of Percy Miller or Master P. As you can see right here, Percy Miller, Master P right here, doesn't have the arm length or the arm proportions of that of a male. First of all, it's way too short, especially for a black male, as you can see right here, because this arm should be far longer and stretch all the way down, almost close to the knees, especially for black males. But as you can see that Master P right here has the curves of a female, as you can tell right here. And usually, we usually use the length of the arm in position to the hip in a female's body to ascertain the fact that someone can be female based on the secondary female characteristics. We're not saying that in all cases that this is going to work, but in most cases it does work, because the female arm will be long enough to the point that it ends that inside the palm of the arms, the hip of a female will end inside the palms of the arms if you draw a line right here. So based on this Q angle and this curve, the length of Master P's arm down ends right where you start seeing the female Q angle, or where the hip of the female usually is, which is below the crotch, as you can see right here. And you can tell by this curvaceous nature, and also how the arms of Master P seem to follow that curve right there, because a female's arm will always follow her figure, the hourglass figure that a female has. And this is what you see, because right here from the elbow, the arm bends and follows this hip, because Master P is 100% female and could never be a man in any way. Let's go to another picture of Master P. So when you're looking at Master P's arms, right? Let me see if I can blow this picture up as much as I can, so you guys can notice this too. Let me see. It's going to be a little bit blurry, but you will notice the arm proportion. Now, if you notice Master P's arm proportion, so for example, from the shoulder to the elbow is way too short and sits way so high inside the body. As you can see right here, Master P starts having a curve from right under there, because usually the length of the female arm from the shoulder to the elbow usually ends right where the the rib cage of a woman ends. So this is what you notice with Master P, the arm proportion. So from the shoulder to the elbow is too short and ends right where the rib cage is, as you can see with this crease of the clothes that she's wearing right here. So that arm proportional length shows you that you're looking at a female arm proportional length, because if Master P was male, the length of the arm, right, from the shoulder to the elbows would be far more down, closer to the waist, as all men usually are. All right, but this is not the case with Master P, because she's 100% female and been deceiving a lot of people. This arm proportional length right here is the arm proportional length fit for a female, and you can also see how he curves with an hourglass figure, because Master P is 100% female and could never be male in any way. Let's go to another picture here. We just wanted to show you the same thing with that arm proportional length. You can see this is side-by-side comparison. Now here is a man right here. So look at the arm proportional length from the shoulders to the elbows. You can see that it ends very close down to the waist of a man. This guy here is Colin Kaepernick. He plays football. He used to play for the San Francisco 49ers. You can see the arm length proportion from the shoulder to the elbow ends almost close to the waist of a man, because that's usually what happens, especially with black males. Because we've always used this example that there is no excuse for a black male not to have long arms. You will never see any black man, especially black males, having short arms. The arms are always going to be so ridiculously long, because it's a black male trait. So when you notice the arm length from the shoulder to the elbow here for Colin Kaepernick, you can see it ends almost close to where his navel is, way down into his waist. But in Master P's case, you can see how short this is. From the shoulders to the elbows ends inside where the rib cage is, because with females that's what usually happens. So there can be enough space in the pelvic region and the abdominal area for a baby to stay inside the woman and contain all the organs necessary for life, like the woman's stomach and the reproductive organs. And this is what Master P exhibits, because Master P is 100% female. So based on that length, all right, of the shoulder to the rib cage, this is definitely a female and could never be a man in any way. So let's move to the next picture of Master P. And here's Master P. We just found this picture, and this is what a typical black female looks like. As you can see right here, Master P's there is an arch in that back, and you can see that pelvic tilt forward. Let me blow this picture up. Sorry, my mouse is all over the place. When I'm trying to drag it, it's moving. So you can see this pelvic tilt right here, because this is where the female, waist point or waist point starts, which is always just slightly below the female rib cage. And as you can see, this is where Master P's elbows ends, and that's where that pelvic tilt starts, because all this is pelvic region. All this is going to be the butt area for a female all the way down, and this is what Master P exhibits, because Master P is 100% female and could never be a man in any way. All right, so let's get to another picture of Master P, and the same thing with the arm proportion length. We're just trying to show you it's way too short from the shoulder to the elbows and ends right where the rib cage is, because Master P is 100% female. And you can see all these curves right here, curved figure, hourglass figure. Master P 100% female. Here's Master P. We just found a picture of Master P with with children around here, and you can see how he looks so feminine. And there's no difference between him right here and all these females in here, or these females in this picture, as you can notice, because Master P is 100% female. Even with the hair and the face, it shows you that you've been looking at a female all along, and you could never have been looking at a man. So Master P could not have fathered these children because she's 100% female and not a man in any way. Here's another picture of Master P. This one is a little bit blurry, but we just wanted to show you how he curves and the hourglass figure and that there's an arch in that back. Let's go to another picture of Master P. And you can see here Master P has the same, let's say, arm length for a female with his so-called daughter. If you notice how the arm flows and tries to follow the hourglass figure that female usually has, and that's what Master P exhibits here. You can see how it curves, the arm curves and tries to follow the hip angle, and then also you can see the skew angle right here, which is below the crotch. It's the same thing that's exhibiting with Master P's daughter in Symphonic. We know that Master P could never father any of these children. It had to be his so-called brother C. Miller. That we talked about earlier before. So that's that. So I think that's it for this particular picture. So let's continue on to some more other pictures of Master P. Here, Master P starts spreading from underneath the elbows like a black woman would, because Master P is 100% female. And looking at the structure of Master P right here, where do you think Master P's navel should be? Master P's navel is right around here. It's set way too high inside the torso of the body to be male. And let me ask you another question. Why would you go to a basketball game and wear long sleeves under your jersey? Do you see males do this on a basketball court? Because this long clothing here and long sleeves is to hide the female form that Master P has, because Master P is 100% female. The navel's right around here, spreading like a female, a black woman, because Master P is one, spreading from underneath the elbows and getting wider with huge, humongous hips of a black female. Let's get to some other pictures. Here's Master P walking, and you can see that's a female gait right there. You can see the Q angle is below the crotch. The walk is a female walk. We don't have a full picture to show you the feet, but we can tell that Master P is swinging side to side because she would have a wide pubic arch. That's the reason why females swing from side to side or walk in a catwalk, because of the wide pubic arch. Because of the wide pubic arch, a female's body needs to balance. So the female's feet needs to come inside to balance the center of gravity and forward at the same time while walking, causing that female swing of the hips from side to side, that female gait. And that's what Master P is exhibiting right here, because she's 100% female. As you can tell how curvy this looks. Master P, 100% woman, and not a man in any way. Here's another picture of Master P playing a basketball game with another female, having an arch in the back, because where you have this crease in this jersey right here shows you where the female rib cage is, the small female rib cage, and the waist, which just starts below it right here, the pelvic region. And Master P's navel is right around here, so high set inside the torso of the body based on the structure. As you can see, that's the navel belly button right here. Let me blow this picture up as much as I can. The belly button is here. See that? It's so set high, so far away from the pubic region, because this is the pubic, this is the navel point for a female, because Master P is 100% female. And we've heard stories, or rather stories that are associated with Master P, is that he created some sort of mixed league kind of basketball in which females and males can play on the same team against each other. Wow. And he's wearing this long sleeves because he's trying to hide the female form. Arch in the back, because Master P is 100% female. Let's go to another picture of Master P. Here's Master P on the basketball court, and you can see that's a woman running right there. Even with the arm, the way she carries, I call her she because this is she. The way she carries this arm right here, that's the female. That's how females carry their arms all day. Because I used to wonder when I look at my mom walk, I say, why would you carry your hands this way? I was just curious about it, because as a man, you never see a man carry their arms that way. This is a female gait, the way of carrying the arms, because Master P is 100% female. A cute Q angle below the crotch. running like a female. All right, let's go to another picture of Master P. Here's Master P again, and you can see that navel pointing down very clearly. We don't know what's going on here, but it's fake. We know that it's fake. You can see that this shows where the rib cage of Master P ends. That is so small, because if this was a male, this navel would be closer down to the pubic region, and this rib cage would extend far longer down. But this is not the case, because Master P is 100% female. And you can see from this A line, because females usually have an A line from the top, which means a narrow shoulder. Then as they go down, they get wider until they get to their hips. That's what Master P is exhibiting here, an A-line figure, because Master P is 100% female, and not a man in any way. The older as she's getting, it's showing more and more that you're looking at a woman and not a man. Let's go to another picture of Master P. As you can see, look at that huge, humongous pelvis jutting out, and the navel's right around here based on the torso of the body. You can see this is a woman, because when a woman puts her hands up, the figure shows more, that hourglass figure that's spreading. The reason why we can't really see that much is because Master P is wearing this tight clothing and inside wear to constrict the shape of the body so that we do not see that it's a female body. All right? Some sort of thing to shape the body and put in the fat in a straight line so that we don't see that it's a female spreading from underneath the elbows and getting wider as this pubic arch or the pelvic region shows, and this acute Q angle is below the crotch. The crotch is not right here, it's right here. That's why this acute Q angle is right there, because Master P is 100% female, not a man anyway. Let's go to some other pictures. Here's Master P just sitting down with another basketball player. I don't know who the name is, but like I said, you can't make any role models of anybody, because they were telling you the truth. They should have told you that Master P here is 100% female. We're just putting this picture up there for you to see. But what we want to show you is that this pubic region right here doesn't fit the pubic region of a man. You can see that it's wide in there. It's not narrow to be male, because Master P is 100% female and not a man anyway. All this clothing is to cover up that form so you don't see the female figure on form. The long sleeve clothing, the clothing underneath is to cover up all that so we don't see it. Well, let's go to the next picture. Here's Master P again. You can still see that this this navel right here is set way too high, and you can see that it's a tilted pelvis forward because of how it slants. This is a female tummy. This pelvis is tilted forward. You can see right here how far it is away from the pubic region, and how it slants is the pubic region of a female. And here is what's this guy, the guy who owns the Dallas Maverick. What's his name again? Let me get the name right, because I always want to give you guys correct information. The guy's name is Mark Cuban, right? Mark Cuban owns the Dallas Mavericks, and this is Romeo, the so-called son, which would actually be a nephew of Master P, because as we've shown you, she could not give birth to this. It would be Corey Miller, the brother of Master P, who is the imposter for so many of the pictures of Master P to make us believe that she's male, who would have impregnated someone. The Vatican would have made him to do so, and produce these children so they look like Master P, but they are not actually children by Master P. So that's why you can't make any role models of anybody. They're all controlled by the Vatican. Let's go to the next picture. Here's Master P. As you can see, there's an arch in that back, and the pelvis is tilted forward just by that stance. You can tell right there. Take a look at that. Arch in the back. This pelvis is tilted forward because it's the pelvis of a black woman and not that of a black man. Master P, 100% female. Arch in the back. Pelvis tilted forward. Look at that. Slanting forward. Look at that stance right there. That's the stance of a female, because Master P is one. Let's go to another picture of Master P where I showed you this one already. Here's Master P again. Look at that. Can you see that? Arch in the back. See that? The spreading forward, right, from the elbows, because with females, the elbows usually start tucking in at right where your waist is, and that is why Master P's zone is right here. If this was male, the elbows would be farther down towards the waist and wouldn't be tucked in here, right, where you can see this blob of fat around, because this is the blob of fat of a female. The back of a female, you can see there's an arch in the back with these creases in the cloth, because Master P is 100% female. Let's go to another picture. Really showed you that one. It's still the same thing. Navel point set way too high. Clothing to cover up the female form and tighten the body so we don't know that is 100% female. I'm playing with the fabricated son in Romeo, which would be the son of her brother, and not actually her son, because Master P could not get anybody pregnant because she's female. Let's go to another picture of Master P right here. Same thing again. You can still see that deep sea arch in the back. That's a deep arch in the back right here. Look at that. Deep arch in the back. Let me blow this picture up. Deep arch in the back. Undeniably female right there. You can see that. Start spreading from underneath the elbows like all females should. But because of the tight clothing, it's throwing the form off so you don't see that. But you can still see how wider it gets as it's going down, because Master P is 100% female. Let's go to another picture of Master P. And look at that. Master P trying to find the male waist, but it doesn't exist. Is this how a man would put his hands on his waist? Of course not. That's the hand on a female pelvis. That's why it looks so awkward, because Master P is female. The pelvic region of a female. Look at that armrest right there. It's not male in any way. All right, let's go to another picture. We're going to show you that again. Here's Master P again. As you can see, this clothing is trying to hide the female form, but we can still tell this Q angle is below the crotch right there. It's below the crotch. Acute Q angle. You can see how acute it is all the way down, because Master P is 100% female. 100% female. You can see how acute it is. The crotch right around here. That's where the Q angle starts. You can still see even through that clothing. That's the Q angle of a female. Everything female, nothing male in this person, because Master P is 100% female, not a man in any way. A black female. Here's Master P. As you can see it. You can see how. Just look at how round the thighs is. Just look at how round those thighs are, and you can see that this pubic arch is very wide in here, because Master P is female and not a man in any way. 100% female. Wide pubic arch sitting in a U shape like it should do for a woman, because Master P is one. Let's go to another picture of Master P again, and you can still see this acute Q angle is below the crotch. You can tell how deep this acute Q angle sits into the knee before it comes out, because Master P is 100% female. Let's go to another picture of Master P, and here's Master P with a hip-hop artist called DJ Khaled. If DJ Khaled, who wants to be a role model of all the young people around the world and telling them all the false stories of how he came from Palestine and made it in music, the Vatican set this person up all the way along. There's nothing true about his story. So don't work your lives and keep on believing in the system that you are going to be successful. Know the truth for yourself and work smart. Don't believe in any of the fairy tales that these guys tell you. It's only by the grace of Yahushua will he lead and guide you if you let him to, by actually thinking of planting your own crops and growing your own animals so you can survive. And don't listen to all these punks down here. That's what I call them. They're all liars and deceivers. If DJ Khaled was telling you the truth, he should have told you right from the get-go that Master P is 100% female, but he never did himself. Let's go to another picture. And here is, if we should end the picture, end the video, it's a picture typically. We should end the video right here. This should suffice, because you're looking at a bona fide female. Look at this. This is a cute Q. Just take a look at this. Is that a man running or a woman? You can see how acute the Q angle is. Goodness gracious. We should end the video right here. This is the acute Q angle of a female. A wide pubic arch causing that acuteness of the connection between the hip and the knee. See how that? Hourglass figure. 100% female. Master P could not be a man in any way. Marinated on that picture for a while. Hourglass figure. 100% female. Alright, let's go. We don't have time. Let's round out this video. Okay, that was the last picture. So, please, do not believe in all these false stories. I know the price of the book that we have offered you guys contains everything that you need to know. Because the Vatican, even though they haven't shut our channels down yet, they will eventually. Because we have shown you before, They've landed 2 strikes on that account, and let me actually show you those strikes. There are so many strikes on the account right here. You're looking at it right here again. Let me blow this up. One was for the real gender. One was for Selena Q, and let me pull up that one also. This one was for Selena Q's video. Selena Q was a popular Tejano music artist in the Hispanic world, and we presented the fact that Selena Q could not be female as she claimed, and she was male, and they landed a strike on her account for that. If you're interested in watching that video, get on the Tricks of the S Trade and look for the video called Bono. Go to the description section of that video. It will give you a link to watch the Selena Q video so you can know the truth for yourself. They've landed another strike, several strikes on they landed strikes on the Hotel Rwanda video that we made, which is called Who is Ivan Ego of Wall of Dance, because we tried to show people that the Rwandan genocide was an act caused by the Vatican, in which they themselves publicly, officially accepted that it was their fault. And we showed that in this video, but they landed a strike because they don't want the whole world to know that truth, because even though it was made publicly, it was made in a private public meeting. That's the best way I can put it. And the Real Gender Not Transgender or Transsexual series, they landed a strike because we told the people that the Las Vegas shooting, which happened sometime in 2017, October 2017, was false. It was a hoax created so that the Vatican could take the rights of people owning bomb stocks that can cause a gun to turn into a semi-automatic or automatic weapon, and trying to take away the Second Amendment, which was not created by them, because it was created by those woolly-haired monarchs who came from Europe and established the United States, as well as the Constitution of the United States, until after Abraham Lincoln died. For more of that information, get on the channel and look for the series called The Real Presidents, or get our book for the most complete details. So because they haven't found us, or they haven't landed this strike on Tricks of the S Trade 2 for now, doesn't mean they're not going to do it. So please, I advise you, get our book. Save. If you really love the truth, you will get the book. We're not just trying to sell you the book. We're trying to put real history and information in your hands that you can pass on to your generations forever and ever. So please know your history. Get the book. And so with all that, we advise you that you should always, please, look with your eyes, but see with your brain. At this point in time, I can't tell anybody to subscribe to the channel anymore. If you want to, you can subscribe. We're not here for subscribers. We're here for those who are interested in the truth and not fixated on transgenders and are not just all over the place. So if you're interested in the whole truth, show it, prove it to yourself, and get the whole truth. Get our book, The Concealed Mystery. All the information will be on our screen on how to get the book, on how to keep in contact with us until we get our websites up. And with that, we'll leave you with these words. Look with your eyes, but see with your brain. And sorry, it was a long video. Thank you. Talk with you guys again.